morning, good morning. Look who's back with us. Welcome home. Look who's back with us. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Kauai. I'm so glad to see all your smiling faces this morning. When I was in ministerial school, they said this was like herding cats. And it is. We love kitty cats, yes. So I want to just let you know a few of the wonderful things that are happening here at the center this week, this month, and next month. We have a full plate for you guys. This week on Tuesday, well, as you know, Deborah Valentina was on an amazing journey to China for 6 weeks. It's next week? Let me read the notes. Tuesday, June 13th, which is next Tuesday, not day after tomorrow, 6:30 to 8 p.m. Okay, let's go back where I was. 6-week amazing journey, teaching empowerment, art, and leadership to the women and a few of the men in China. And it was just a very unexpected, and amazing journey for her. And so I hope you'll join us that night to hear about that. Thursday, June 22nd, we have another one of our healing circles. How many of you have been here for the healing circles? Aren't they amazing? The space that is created for you to just be. You don't have to bring anything. You don't have to say anything. You just get to come and be loved by the reverends and the practitioners and bask in the healing philosophy of the science of mind for an evening. So please put that on your calendar. You've all been asking about the book we sold out of, The Game of Life, and how to play it. We still don't have it, huh? Okay, we're going to get some more. So Jackie will be in the bookstore today, but she won't have The Game of Life. I'm so sorry. Tuesday, June 27th from 6 to 8 p.m., Reverend Rita and Patrick will be teaching a one-day workshop, one evening on The Game of Life. It's helpful if you can read it ahead of time. Those of you who pulled it off the bookstore shelves right away, start reading, and those of you who are still waiting for a copy, we'll have them for you soon. July is busy, so please mark your calendars so that you can be with us for all the events that are happening. It's our birthday month. Can you believe that happened already? And we are retilling the soil of who we are as we grow again. So you remember what we did with the faith lift to open this center a few years ago? We're doing that again. And this time we're going to have this amazing mural with all of you on it on the other wall. There are some things we need to refresh, there are some things we need to renew, and there are some new things that we are needing for the center in order to grow to the next state of evolution, transformation that we are in the process of. So I want you to know that we will have fundraisers where you can help to do that, just like all those folks bought coffee pots and chairs and things like that. There's a list of items that is on the information table, right, that you can, things that we need that you can donate towards. And your name will go on that wall for helping us grow again as we make that amazing mural. Also, to celebrate our birthday, July 9th, will be our Lidgate service this year, 9 a.m. at Lidgate instead of in this space, where we will celebrate our birthday in a grand way as we like to do here. Lots of food, lots of music, and a silent auction this year to an additional way to help us raise funds. And so the reason I'm telling you about that now is so that if you have new or very gently used items that relate to the theme of Here We Grow Again, like planting things, like, or you know somebody who sells things that could be donated maybe for the silent auction. I want you to think, or services, I want you to think about that and let Jan Hovey or Sue Buckley know that you have it to donate. Love Notes Cabaret. This is the last announcement for today. Know that there are many there are many good things on the back of your program, but Love Notes is happening July 13th and 14th. The Revs are at it again. Here we go with a whole new show and theme and poo-poo buffet, drinks, an hour and 15-minute show. Last year was amazing, and I can't wait to see what happens this year as they bring all new stuff for us, and our team transforms this center into a cabaret for you to enjoy a fancy evening out. And so I just hope that you will put those things on your calendar. If you didn't catch everything right now, it's on the back of your program, so you can take that home and mark it on your calendar. Well, I want to welcome Reverend Rita and Patrick, and so grateful you're here. You were missed last week, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for holding down the fort last week. Thank you, Reverend Diane, for doing that, and everybody that came forth. And we watched you on live stream, and I'm a little disappointed at the wild party when I absolutely said there was no wild parties. And if you think that I did not see it, you are very wrong, because there's other cameras in this. No, I'm kidding. I'm only kidding. As you get scared, you're like, really? And microphones, things like that. No, but I just want to thank you, because it really means a lot when we don't go away that often together. We do separately, but we don't go together. And this was a wonderful feeling to know that your family was in good hands and all of that. And speaking of thank yous, I just want to throw it real quickly. If you'll look down at your carpet right now, it looks really clean. And it is clean.
We would like the man in the red shirt right here to stand up so we can acknowledge
Glenn and Jack over there came up and helped. Yes, and someone else did too. Harvey.
Yeah, I don't know who your helpers were. Yeah.
And so what has been great about this is that not only, because he definitely, Marion and him wanted on that wall, and they just got right on that wall. But they bought for the center a shampoo cleaner so that we can continue to have this in our center, which has been one thing that we've really needed.
So when the children drop coffee on the floor, now we can clean it up.
Children. So anyway, once again, thank you for everyone. Now, if you spill coffee, you don't need to feel guilty, because we also have one of those little things that can do it right then. So. And you so anyway, it is so wonderful to be back, and thank you for stepping up and doing that. I just wanted to put that out right now.
Okay, so with that said, we want to take a moment to light the peace candle, which I guess Reverend Diane has already done. And I want to just mention that Centers for Spiritual Living has come out with a press release about the climate change, that thing that happened this week. I don't want to go into it, but if you would like to know what that is, I would like you to just, it's on the bulletin board. It is also on the table. You can take a look at what our spiritual leader, Dr. Ken Gordon, has spoken about that. But for us here, as we light this candle, I want to just say that we can look deeply into our hearts and to find ways that we can cherish this planet, and that we can do what we can do to hold that space for our planet. So as we light this candle today, I would just like us to take a moment of silence and to look into ourselves and say, what can I do? What is mine to do? Not to point my finger outward, but to go within and say, what is mine to do? How can I create a space of peace and love for this place I call planet Earth that sustains our life here? So let's just take a moment of silence for that, all right? Thank you. And so I know the answer to that question is right here, now. And it is revealed to us in the perfect time. And so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you,
And also, if you're here for the first time, it would be nice if we're taking it for granted everyone knows us. But I'm Reverend Patrick. This is Reverend Rita. Maria Christina and Bren is over there, and behind there is Jonathan. So we just wanted to make sure that you knew who was standing before you. And I'm not one to brag, but we did go to New Mexico, and the granddaughter collection that we got while we were there, she made us the rainbow collection, and just needless to say, it's quite a bit, so go ahead.
Yeah, so that's great, right? We promised her we would wear it. So where you are is in a Center for Spiritual Living, as I just said, and for those of you who don't know what that is, we practice something called the science of mind and spirit, and we truly believe in the power that lies within each of us to create the lives for ourselves and for those around us by seeing that power of divinity, that power I call God, within each and every person, and living ourselves from that place and looking out through God's eyes, through each and every one of us, looking out at whoever we're in front of and whatever is in front of us, and knowing that God is expressing no matter what it looks like, and there's just more for us to know. So the more we can do that, the more we can go to that place, the more we can make changes in the world from a place of peace and from a place of love.
And with that being said, who's here for the very first time? Raise your hand, please. There you
Actually,
go.
You need to stand
Yeah,
up.
just stand so we can just
We
get a
want to
better.
just love you.
And now, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. And the reason that we have you standing is because we found out some information about you, and we'd like to share that with everyone here at Center for Spiritual Living. You don't mind? I can tell he's smiling. He says, go for it. Go for it. So I think we should go for it and let them know who they are. Shall we? You are magnificent. Isn't that a nice relief? Yes. You are magnificent. And the reason we know that about you is because we know that about ourselves. So shall we say it together? I am magnificent. And that little camera that we watched you in last one, and Rob, welcome back. Welcome back from your 2 months, and Roseanne. And in there are some people, not in the camera itself, but there are people watching us, so we want to let them know who they are as well. You are magnificent. And look to your left, to your right. I see some people back there that I just spotted. You can just say to each other, you are magnificent. You are magnificent.
Melissa's back.
You are
No, you.
Give me a hug. All right. So take all that magnificence, stand up, and let's open up this wonderful, wonderful gathering today. And the words are in your program.
Please sing along. Remember just who you are. Oh, remember your being of the start. Oh, remember the wisdom within. Oh, remember all the joy you can bring. Oh, remember you are of this earth. Oh, remember all that you are worth. Oh, remember all that you know. Remember, seeds take time to grow. Remember, remember all that you are. Remember, remember, remember the power of love. Remember just who you are. Oh, remember your being of the stars. Oh, remember the wisdom within. Oh, remember all the joy you can bring. Oh, remember you are of this earth. Oh, remember all that you are worth. Oh, remember all that you know. Remember, seeds take time to grow. Remember, remember all that you are. Remember,
flows through and as everything. That's who we are. That is the power that we have. And so I know that right here and right now, we bring that power to this service together, to this place together, to this time together, to this important time on this planet Earth. And we rise ourselves higher into consciousness, knowing that as we do that, we lift this planet up. We heal this planet. In fact, it doesn't need any healing. It just needs our consciousness to be higher. So we raise our consciousness to meet its glory and its power and its love. And I know that we do that during the service. And as we walk out this door into that place out there that we call love, that we call beauty, that we call Kauai, that we call planet Earth, and we live this principle. So I'm just grateful to be here together, grateful to know this truth, grateful to know that the power lies within each one of us, as I just affirm this together with you as we say, and so it is.
Remember just who you are, oh remember, you're a being of the stars, oh remember, the wisdom within, oh remember, all the joy you can bring, oh remember, you are of this earth, oh remember, all that you are worth, oh remember, all that you know, remember, please take time to grow, remember, all that you are. Remember, remember, remember the power of
Aloha and good morning. My name is Rose Ann Jones. Many of you probably have forgotten who I am. But I am a practitioner in training, and I was asked to lead the meditation today. And I'm very happy to do that. And apparently, while I was gone, there's been a acclamation that meditation is something we want to bring back into the service. So here we go. And so our meditation time is that time where we can get quiet, go within, and feel and know that Source is always with you. And when I say Source, that means the energy, the power, the amazing force in the universe that created everything. And I call it God. Each of you may choose to call it whatever you choose, but it is always here, omnipresent, always the source that's here. So what I would like you to do is to settle into your seats and take this time. You are in a safe place. And as we go within and as we connect with our source and listen to our source, we let go of the outside world. We let go of that chatter and Facebook and all the stuff happening out there. We go within. And I would invite you to just settle into your seats, plant your feet on this beautiful clean floor, and let that chair support you. As God always supports you. And breathing deeply into the knowledge that you are in a safe place, always. For God, Source, created everything and created this space for you to listen, to go within, to accept, and relaxing into this and knowing that your very own heartbeat is the rhythm of the universe speaking to you. And relaxing and going even a little deeper and softening your face, feeling comfortable with your neck and your arms and your hands and just going deeper. And I have a thought if you would like to bring into this time of meditation. And it's some words inspired by that great philosopher, Walt Disney. And I adapted some lyrics from his 1940 movie Pinocchio that goes, "When you gaze upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. If your heart is in your dream, no request is too extreme." Enjoy your time in the silence. When you gaze upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. If your heart is in your dream, no request is too extreme. Why is this true? It's true because each one of us is made from stardust, from the one force in the universe. That force that I call God. God constantly generates love, nurturing, peace, joy, health, and abundance. Always love. This omnipresent force expresses through me, and it expresses through each one of you, right here, and in this very moment, and in every moment, whether you are sitting right here, whether you are near, whether you are far away, God is always there. We cannot escape this force, for it permeates everything with constant vitality and creative energy. Each one of us can choose to gaze at a star. No matter who we are, what our background is, what our circumstances are, each one of us can dream on that star and make that dream into reality. For dreams become reality because of our faith and acceptance and absolute conviction that we, each of us, makes our dreams come true. Breathing into this truth and in this reality, know that the universe conspires to say yes, 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 always to your innermost desires and dreams. Feel that dream that you have, each of us have inside of us, whether it's for greater health, releasing something, letting go of pain, whether it's for creating more love in your life, more prosperity, and more creativity, more outlets for your own dreams. The universe, God is always saying loudly to you, yes, yes, what you believe will be your reality. Your dream can and will be your reality. I let this be. I let each heartfelt dream become reality by knowing and accepting that dream with absolute conviction that that faith makes that dream come true. And I am so filled with gratitude because dreams do come true. I am grateful for each dream and for each dreamer sitting here, because that's who and what you are. And in saying, in accepting that gratitude, I release my word into the law as we say together, and so it is.
So just staying in that place. We have a chant that we'll be singing now. It is in your program, The Way of the Heart. So just allow your heart to just express. Just take this nice place of calmness as we go into our chant.
Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Oh, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Love upon love upon love, our hearts are beating is one. Light upon light upon light, shining as bright as the sun. So let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Oh, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Love upon love upon love, our hearts are beating as one. Light upon light upon light, shining as bright as the sun. So let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Oh, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through.
Mahalo.
Hello. Oh. Thank you, Roseanne. Thank you, everyone who's taken part so far. Thank you so much. What a beautiful day. It's always so good to come home after we've been away when we leave our island. And it's always hard for me to leave. Usually they call me one of those things that stick to the rock because I don't know. What are they called? Oh, PE or something. PE. I know I should learn the word since I've been called it many times. But yeah, then I get all like, oh, I'm going to leave, I'm going to leave, I'm going to leave. And then once I'm gone, then I'm having a good time where I am. And I really did have a good time. So I went back to New Mexico where I lived for 27 years. And I raised my family there. And this guy over here stole me away and took me. No, it wasn't like that at all. I left of my own free will. Fact. Yeah. Yeah. But it's always interesting going back, right, to our history. I mean, if we do that, and how it's like we feel like we're different. I feel totally different than when I lived there, and yet, you know, once upon a time, which is the title of our talk today, once upon a time, I was like a mother, I was an actress, I was, I was a wife. Well, I'm still a wife, but just change the scenery a little bit. A lot. I am just sticking my foot in my mouth tonight. Okay. And I was a teacher. I was all these things back then, and nobody, people just like thought I was just like all over the place. And my dad would always say to me, like, when are you going to focus in, because I was always doing something different. And he you've heard my story, he wanted me to be a famous opera singer, but I never made it quite that far. But I realized when I was there, because I studied with a lady that was very famous. Her name was Marilyn Niska, and she sang both at the Metropolitan Opera and the New York City Opera. She just passed away last year. That was like kind of like an error passed when she passed, when I heard the word. But I studied with her for over 10 years, and as I look back at it now, I could have. And you say that, but it is true. But I did not set my mind to it because I was like, I didn't know about this teaching or anything, but I had other things that I needed to do, and I could never justify both of them together. And so I kind of let it go, and I don't feel bad about it. But what's interesting about when I went back is people still saw me as I was back then. In fact, so many people said things to us like, oh, so are you still doing movies? And I was like, okay, and I guess my kids are not talking about me for sure. So what does that mean? They would say things like, what are you doing now? And, oh, yeah, we're ministers. Oh, yeah, I heard about that, but are you still doing this? And I was like, wow. So once upon a time, I was all these things. And sometimes I think we do that to people, right? We don't let them change, or we don't sometimes see that they've changed. And it was an awakening. But all in all, it was a really good trip because I really had this special time with my grandkids that I don't get very often. And it was really amazing to see how they were growing and the things that they said and their consciousness and watching Moana with them and little things like that are just so special that I wouldn't want to do them every day. That's a gift of being a grandmother that lives on Kauai, I guess. Anyway, but one of the things that came during this thing is one of my daughters, my youngest daughter, we are really in contact a lot. And she calls what I do voodoo magic. She calls me on the phone and she goes, Mom, it used to be about parking spots. She used to go, come on, do your voodoo magic. Can we get a parking spot? And we always would, right? So as in this teaching, as they teach us when we go to school, we need to get beyond parking spots, right? So anyway, she got beyond parking spots and she'd call me on the phone and go, Mom, I need you to do some of your voodoo magic for me. Would you get me, I'm really wanting this job, blah, 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 blah. And so she'd end up getting the job. And then, it would be some, now it was a sale of a house. Okay, now it's a sale of this house. Could you do your voodoo magic? This was like, and I'm like, okay. What she was talking about, for those of you who don't know what our voodoo magic is we do spiritual mind treatment. We speak our word, and our word has power, especially if we believe in it, and we can speak it for someone else, And if they're open and receptive, which she was having all these manifestations. And she learned it from her own husband, who has nothing to do with his teaching, who sat down with me one day because he was in a real rut in his life. And he wanted to change, and he heard that I did this voodoo magic, and could I sit down with him? Oh my God, it's too much. But and so I did, and his whole life like shifted, like totally, like completely. But it wasn't me. This is what we have to understand. It was him. It is her. It is you. We get to see through things sometimes when we can't see, when you can't see through it. But if you're open and receptive when we do our voodoo magic, things do change. I promise you that the book will be ordered this week, but Florence Shidden said, man's word is his wand, or woman's word is her wand, filled with magic and power. And that's what this whole month is going to be about, is once upon a time and magic and fairy tales, and what do they all stand for, and what do they all really mean? And what we do as with this voodoo magic thing is what a practitioner does is they take, this is what I said to my son-in-law, all I did was helped you to remember who you were. And once we remember who we are, then we are successful, whatever that success looks like to us. But until we can remember who we are, nothing, we could speak our word all we want, nothing's going to happen. And when we're trained to do this as science of mind practitioners and ministers, we get to see through the caca that you've got, and we see clearly through what really is happening. But we can't do it for you, but we can help and assist you. Ernest Holmes says the practitioner takes the client gently by the hand and leads him back to himself. Makes like sense, right? So you could call it voodoo magic, you could call it whatever you want to call it, but that's all it is. And it's so simple that people sometimes want to do more. They want us to wave our hands around and do things and put our hands on people. And there's nothing wrong with that, because what? It's done unto us as we believe. So any form of healing that we do, whether it's a massage or a Reiki healing or any of these things, they're all good, but it's all about us. It's not really about what the person's doing. It's about us and how we're accepting it. So I think whatever form of healing is good. Ernest Holmes wrote, if we need to wear glasses, wear them. If we don't have the consciousness to set a bone, then go to a doctor and get the bone set. Because we might, but don't let people put you down because you're doing that. Like, don't let people put you down because you can't walk on water right now. He said if we had the consciousness of the man Jesus, we would be walking on water. Until we get that consciousness, then there's no point in putting ourselves down, because we can't. That's why we have doctors. That's why we have all this stuff going on. But in the end, it does come down to us. Why are some people healed and some not? Because whatever's going on in here, there's a different journey, and we can't step back far enough to know what that is. So these are some of the things that came to me while I was away. And the other thing that came to me was that really got real was this whole idea that I grew up in New Mexico for 27 years. I went there when I was 18 years old and left when I was in my 50s, right? And I was asleep. They call it the land of enchantment, and I know Patrick's going to talk more about that. But I was asleep, and it made me think of Sleeping Beauty, because we were talking about fairy tales. And all Sleeping Beauty, if we think about her as a part of ourselves, she was asleep to herself, her true self. So I'm going through my life in New Mexico for 27 years, thinking, really struggling and working really hard to be everything, to be the mother, to go to school, to, do all the things that I'm supposed to do. I'm not good enough this, I'm not good enough that, because I didn't know who I was. I was asleep. I had a good life, but I was asleep. And I knew something wasn't like right, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it because I didn't know. But I kept searching, and I kept looking, and I kept asking questions. And then what happens? True love's kiss. And I'm not talking about him. We got that one all wrong. It's not about another person. It's wonderful, and we should all fall in love, and I think that's all great. But true love's kiss to me is us awakening to our true selves. When we've been kissed by true love, then we wake up. And that's the metaphor of the, I don't know what the metaphor is, I couldn't really find any on the computer, but that's the one that came to me, is that true love's kiss was that. And so the more I awoke to my true self, the more my life became better and better and better. It was good then, it was great, it was where I was at. But then I knew something needed to change. And it's not easy to make a change, you know. It's not easy to get divorced sometimes when everybody thinks you're supposed to be married for the rest of your life. It wasn't easy for me to leave somebody that, you know, was totally supporting me and actually basically walk into nothing. Not you. It was before you. Okay. It was before him. But to walk in and say, you know, I got to take care of myself now and be okay with that and not and be terrified and yet say, I know a change has to be made. It's not easy, but we do what we have to do. We make the change. We were watching something. Oh, it was Moana. We were watching Moana and how scary it was for her to get in that boat and go across the reef and go to some place where, you know, danger was supposedly, and yet she did, because she said I had to go, right? I had to go. We all come to that point in our life sometimes where we have to go, and sometimes we pull back and we say, no, it's easier to be the same. It's easier to live in the land of enchantment and just see life going on and everybody liking you the way you are and maybe not liking you, but whatever, but it's easier. But sometimes it's not so easy, because it's harder sometimes to stay because a part of us dies. I remember actually, I don't go to psychics anymore, but I remember the psychic saying to me, if you don't make this change, and she didn't know what she was talking about because I didn't even know what she was talking about, but you're going to have to make a change, and if you don't make it, a part of you, she said, you might die. But now I know what she was talking about, because she was reading my subjective field, which is what psychics do. They read what you're thinking and what's in the subconscious. And she saw that I needed to make a change. I wasn't going to physically die probably, but a part of me would have died if I hadn't made that change. And I think sometimes we come to that brink in life where we have to make a change. And we know how powerful our minds are and how powerful our thoughts are, and how powerful our power of belief is. So, yeah, it was quite a reflective journey. It really was, and it was good. It was really good. And I want to say one other thing I learned there before I quiet, and it kind of all goes together, and it's all about the power of the word. But I noticed the way people talk, and not just people, me too, that sometimes we don't say things that are really kind to ourselves and kind to others, or we affirm things that aren't true. Like I heard somebody affirm that they don't have as much energy as they had when they were younger, so therefore life was more difficult. And I was like, I didn't think, because they said, what do you attribute your success to or something? I don't remember what it was. Oh, I know what it was. I said, it's because we're doing what we love. That's why we have all the energy that we want, because we feel like we're doing what we love. So sometimes we say things to ourselves that aren't very kind and aren't very good. And my daughter was, she's all into Buddhism, and she's told me that thing. Well, every time you speak, is it kind? Is it true? Is it necessary? Patrick and I tried it in the car. God, did we have moments of silence between Albuquerque and Chimayo. Really, if we asked ourselves those three questions, is it kind? Is it true? And I might be just saying them in order. Is it necessary? Think about what you wouldn't say and what you would say. And if your word is as powerful as I know my word is powerful, it's voodoo magic. Why would I be putting voodoo magic that is not nice on either myself or someone else? So, yeah, these are some of the things I picked up on my little trip, my little supposed vacation that that ends up a journey into the self. It's always a journey into the self, right? And I'll just close with a quote from Jesus the Christ. who said, "By thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. And death and life are in the power of the tongue." It might seem like it's voodoo magic, but it is. And so it is. Thank you, Maria Christina.
How will it be when we are all totally one, completely undeniably one, with no such thing as separation? What will it feel like to be free? I mean eternally, where every breath is bliss and ecstasy. What will the day be like when heaven's dream is reality? What will the day be like when everything gets healed and love is all we feel? Yeah, where it is for real, where it is for real. When it's for real. How will we love with all hearts open and full, from being who we really are, infinite and universal, and lifted up so high. There's nowhere left to fly, and to finally be everywhere with everyone there, wide open and surrendering, just with nothing to come between us. What will the day be like when heaven's dream is reality? What will that day be like when everything gets healed and love is all we feel? Yeah, where it is for real, where it is for real, where it is for real. When all is said and done, what reigns supreme is what's been and will always be everything. After forgiveness shows us what we're made of, maybe all we'll find is unconditional love. Unconditional love. Unconditional love. What if that's all and everything? 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 What will that day be like when heaven's dream is reality? What will that day be like when everything gets healed and love is all we feel? When it's for real, where it is
Thank you. Mahalo. Well, how's everyone doing? Yeah, it's a good day. And it is good to be back. I tried very hard to stay present when I was in the land of enchantment. Once upon a time, there was a Prince Patrick who found himself in the land of enchantment, or as they like to call it at times, land of entrapment. I had not been back for a long time. I was there for 5 years in the land of enchantment, and lots of things happened, but this is one of the things that happened to me while I was there. And someone asked me, what brought you to New Mexico? And as everyone knows, it's a flat tire. That one can either work or not, depending on your crowd. But I had a really profound experience, and how I was able to have that with lots of grandkids running around is beyond me, because I have that kid personality, so they're like, there he is, he'll play with me for hours and hours. And that's when I brought up the idea of energy, because there was a lot of that. Once you get older, how do you get and people and wow? And I said, well, I don't feel like that. I just don't feel like that. And I wasn't in the mood to skirt around, especially since they don't even know I'm a minister. I don't even have to do any of that stuff with them. But I was not going to lie. I was not going to pretend that I had older energy because it would make you feel better. And so it was quite interesting. So this whole idea about once upon a time, I mean, my God, I used to be so interested in my past lives. I've had so many past lives in this life, I wouldn't even want to go back to any of that times. Going back to New Mexico, it was like, oh my God, it was like awakening, going, oh, I lived here, and I did this, and I did that. And it was like kind of a very, very profound experience. I went to sacred sites. Our granddaughter lost her first tooth. And that was an event, and there's pictures on Facebook if you'd like to do that. I know a lot of people think I'm obsessed with Facebook, but that's not the truth. I'm just obsessed with leaving some documentation. And I like to document all of the stuff that happens. The whole week was very full. And I had lunch in places with people, and some of the people you'd get together with, and you had, and if they're watching, I love you, but not mentioning names, but nothing in common with anymore. We were just making up stuff. Then there was other people, like not a day passed. And I spoke to a woman. I'd been gone for 17 years, basically. We kind of wrapped up. I had an acting studio there. And I think I forgot that because I was having Starbucks, of course, the largest in Albuquerque, largest in New Mexico, just FYI. And we were sitting there with these wonderful people, Jean and Ginger, and one is 85 and the other one's 82, and they were my students when I had my acting studio. And as I was sitting there, they said, are you aware that no one has ever replaced you? And I started to really tear up. And I went, first of all, that's not my intention, because we're all replaceable. Not our basic energy, but I know that, but not another acting teacher came there with the same kind of Patrick stuff. And what I realized then is when I left Albuquerque, they said, what a beautiful way to disguise your ministry by an acting studio. Because I touched a lot of lives there. And I forgot until she brought that up to me, and my ego wasn't having a party. Patrick just had a moment of remembering something that I did in this land of enchantment. And it was powerful, bless you. It was powerful. And then we also, while you guys were here, we were at another CSL Kauai, which is so cool, because just to sit there somewhere else and be the receiver of what, and I just was like, wow. And then to take away all of the stuff that you're doing, like, well, we do it differently, and we're in you. And how are they doing, and how's she doing with her talk? We just kind of suspended that. And she told a story that I wanted to share. It was on Memorial Day, and I watched yours. It was a beautiful ceremony we do here every year about remembering, and hers was all about memory. But she told this story that I wanted to share with you, and I'll borrow it from her. She was talking about a gentleman who was taking a very long train ride. And they have those little compartments, where you can sleep. And as he was sleeping, he could hear this woman crying out, "I'm so thirsty. I'm so thirsty." Well, that went on. I mean, it's annoying enough for me to say it to you twice, but to have to keep hearing it for hours. And this, "I'm thirsty." So finally he got up and he went and got her a glass of water. And he gave it to her. And he thought, "Oh, I'll get some sleep now." And then he heard, "I was so thirsty. I was so thirsty. I was so thirsty." And it really hit home that we get through one thing and we jump right onto another, or we keep bringing it back. And we've talked about it many times here. You finally get your thirst quenched. And then we go what? To the next thing or back. Like I got through that poverty of my childhood, but I'm going to tell you about it for the rest of my life, about what happened to me. And I just kept hearing this, "I'm so thirsty. I was so thirsty." Finally, we must graduate and let go of the past. I speak about it a lot, and I probably speak about it because there's probably parts of my being that needs to do that. But I'm not thirsty. I have quenched my thirst, and that's what I invite us to do. And as we graduate, we went there for a purpose, and that was graduation. And as I was sitting there watching our granddaughter, and this very cool graduation too, because they had like Aztec dancers come out. I mean, it was like, we are in the land of enchantment, and all the speakers were people they chose. And it was just this cool thing, because they can be a little, I don't know if you've ever been to any, but a little dull at times, on your 1,000 name that's, announced. But as I was sitting there, I had this moment, and I want to share it with you, because it was a divine moment. It was a moment of transformation for me. I had a choice as I was looking at these wonderful young lives ready to just go out into the world. And I had a moment, and I went, is it over? Am I watching their stuff? Am I watching their lives? But where am I? Do I now have to set that aside? And I thought, I don't feel that. Everything that those speakers were saying to those kids, I felt. Rita and I, 4 years ago, did exactly what they're talking about go out and you don't have anything now and you'll end up eating macaroni and cheese, but you'll make it through. They had a comedian there. And I just sat there and I went, that sounds like what Rita and I did 4 years ago, what they're talking about now, graduation. The only difference would be 40 years. And I went, we're always graduating. And that's what Rita was talking about when that beautiful woman wanted to express herself to say, yeah, but you're not 18. I don't do well anymore in that environment. It could be about being a minister, but I said, actually, I still have that energy. And then that's when she said, well, what do you, kind of more like this, really? And I went, yeah, actually, I do have that energy because I love what I do. But it was that moment of graduating that I thought, we're always graduating. And we don't have to live vicariously through anyone else unless it's Rob and Roseanne. I lived vicariously through all of their trips that they just took. But I thought of that. I did the whole time that I was graduating. And I'm going to graduate again and again and again and again. Look at Ruth. She jumped in here and said, I want to go to Kauai. I'm going to Kauai. A lot of people might say, well, that may not be the greatest idea. My mom, she didn't come here because she didn't believe in geckos or no thermostats. I mean, those were the two reasons why she didn't come. But I'm going to say here, then I had my third revelation, because everything comes in threes. It was my granddaughter, Jade, who kept appearing in different, that's the one thing about kids, always costume designers, right? It's like Belle one moment, and then they had to show me every one, right? And then they're putting on their makeup and they're running in. And Jade, who's going to turn 13, and is positive she could come here and not worry about that layover that they do between planes, and because she's 13 now. And she had this beautiful white dress she kept throwing on. And and she didn't just put it on, she put it on. And Patrick, Grandpa Patrick, Actually, I do that a little too well. But but anyway, we're talking past lives here. Let's put it all out on the table. We won't go that far back. But she kept doing this, and it was so great. I said, Jade, my God, you look like a princess. And she said, I'm a queen. And I went, oh, but no, Jade, the last time I was here, you were a princess. Oh, wisdom from children. She said, Grandpa, that was then. I'm now a queen. And since we were doing this whole idea about, I told her mother, I said, on Facebook, I said, boy, she owns it. She said, I'm a queen, man. You're not the boss. She was the same one at 5 that said, you're not the boss of me. That's why she doesn't want to be a princess anymore, because I did the whole analyzing of queen, king, princess, prince. See, when you're a prince and a princess, you're still being groomed. So people can still tell you what to do. But when you become a queen or a king, you are running the kingdom. And you're running the queendom. And so it was very interesting. And so her mother said, she loves being a diva. And see, this is what I love about perception. We say, oh, she's such a diva, or he's a diva, or whatever. Like there's something negative about it. Man, she owned it. I'm a diva. Wow, 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 wow. You can't take any, she goes, I'm a diva sometimes, Grandpa, with such pride. Until we get in there and we tell them, diva's not a good thing, honey. Diva's people who think they're better than other people. And then we do that real gentle pop the balloon, but not with Jade, because Jade is a queen. And she owns it. And that's where I'm going with my message today, about owning it. We have owned and we have the right. I was born, I love this idea of happily ever after. I was writing about it today. And happily ever after is lovely, except that you're still waiting for it. You're still waiting for it. And I'm thinking, what if I entertain the idea that I'm a king today, and I run my kingdom, not your kingdoms, like we'd love to do, so that my life can be a little bit better, because if you'll just do what I would like you to do. That's not the way it works. The king of your kingdom, the kingdom of God, good, is within. And so I really got the idea this time that I'm going to take that wisdom from the child and own who I am. This philosophy is one of the best kept secrets, obviously. If you can go to a place and they're still asking you what you do, that baffles me. And I take full responsibility for that, because I think there's a part of me that still wants to fit in, doesn't want to really stand outside and say who I am. A friend of mine, she said, I was in hysterics. I called your machine and it said, hi, this is Reverend Patrick. Well, I'm glad I could be her entertainment on that particular phone call. But what that told me was that the change that I had made was uncomfortable for them. And I, being the true codependent that I used to be, want to really work that around so I don't mention too much of it. I don't mention what I believe. I don't mention that the kingdom of God is within me. Because it's a real downer at parties. Everybody's having a margarita, and then you walk in and go, "Hi, I'm Reverend Patrick." And everybody's like, "Oh, well, yeah." I was just in the middle of a really good joke, and here comes Patrick. Do you remember when he was fun before he became a minister? And so that was my revelation, that there was still a part of me, if somebody's saying to me, "I don't get what you do," it's because I don't get what I do fully. And that's a real big one for us all to wrap ourselves around. If something's in your way and you say to them, "They just don't understand me," I suggest we get a little clearer about understanding ourselves. So she really brought that home to me. If our family is still asking what Rita and I are doing when we have done something so miraculous here on this island, is that the ego wanting to know? Perhaps some of it. But the other part is saying, "Why don't you know? Have I been keeping it a secret? Because we're embarrassed that I call myself God, that I'm embarrassed of that, that the kingdom was, I came here with this?" No, my friends. I may lose a few friends, but look what I'm gaining. And so I don't always like to just, and this isn't about shaming myself. This is about declaring myself. And I really wasn't intending to go there, but I really want to I am in the midst of this philosophy, not a person who runs the world. Ernest Holmes was a man like you and me and women and everybody else. Let's get all that stuff. But I'm really clear that the reason that hardly anyone knows about religious science is because we keep disguising it. It's new thought. Well, yeah. Do we want to turn it into another thing? No. And I'm not meaning to go off on the whole science of mind, but all I know is that this philosophy changes lives. I have watched lives being changed. And I'm not going to sit here anymore or stand here or be a part of anything and be afraid to use the word reverend, be afraid to use the word God, good, source, for any reason at all. Because my whole place in this world is to assist people to change and go back to who they are. I had one last revelation I'll leave with you. I only had 24 of them. I had somebody say to me, "Can you save me from myself?" I can't. I cannot save you from yourself. I can't put the cookies over here so you won't eat them. I can't make you speak better to your neighbors. I cannot help you love yourself more. I can love myself more and be that example for you. I cannot do that. I cannot help you on your diet by removing it. We have got to be strong enough and divine enough to say, "I choose not to. I'm a person of choice." I am only able to help us all return to ourself, as Rita said. Can you take the cookies away from me? Can you make it not so tempting? No, but here's the choice. You can walk away anytime. Be everything. You're queens and kings. We do not need to pretend that we're servants any longer. Oh, we're serving all right. But from that majesty, that divine kingdom, I love you. I love you so much. You don't need saving. You never did anything that needed saving. You okay with that? I'm complete. And so it is. Well, here we are, just another Sunday. What the other people do on Sunday mornings, I'm just not sure.
Okay, so
Can I ask one question, though?
Yeah.
Do you think I'll always have to live down the fact that I knew how to put the skirt? Own it!
own it.
Oh,
Own it. Wow.
hello. Oh, that was good.
I wanted to say a whole bunch of stuff about this, but I think what I want to say is this is our time of sacred giving, and how we totally appreciate every penny that comes into this place and into the center, because it assists us to go forward and do this work and change lives, like Patrick said, and create a space where you can all come and feel comfortable and do the projects that we do and all that. But in reality, when I put this check in the basket, and it's for me, Rita, because when I do it, it makes me, I realize that there's more that comes from that. And that's why I give to whatever I give for. And we always say we give to our spiritual source. So if you're spiritually nourished here, this is a great place, and we appreciate the giving. But it's the point of giving. It doesn't matter if you give here or you give somewhere else, or wherever you give, or however you let go of your finances. It's for you. Just remember that, because it really is. We benefit from it, great, when you give here. But in reality, when you get to go like this and let it go, it's for you. And when you open up, it happened to me so many times when I was there, because I was, you're on vacation, you're spending money and stuff like that. But every time I would just let go, because I had it to let go, and I just let go of it, more came in. It's just the way it works. It's this whole idea of the circle of life. So thank you for what you give today. And when we say the affirmation, let's just really take it to our heart and put our contribution of consciousness or whatever we're giving today there on our heart, and just let's repeat the affirmation together. Divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, prosper, and bless. It is evidence of my conviction that God is the source and substance of my supply. I give freely today, knowing that it returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it does.
So blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have.
Oh, wow. Do you feel this energy? And what we know is that these pieces of paper, whether they're checks or dollars or coins, whatever, it's all about the flow. It's a flow of energy. And I am so grateful for all the flow of energy that comes into my life and I release out of my life. And I am so grateful for this flow that comes into these baskets to go forward, helping this community, helping this nation, and helping this planet. It's all about flow and energy. Mahalo, mahalo. And so it is.
So it is.
Thank you. Thanks.
And you notice the people coming up here. We have our our little jar here that people are dropping change in. Thank you, Robert. I mentioned you actually last week. Robert said, you know, we got to mention what's going on here, because that energy, thank you, Robert, that energy that you put in here, it doesn't matter if it's a penny or a quarter, it moves the energy to make all things possible.
And what is it for?
And this is for this
Our building
wonderful phase 3, phase whatever one you want to call it, our future on this property. So if there are any children, I know that we have not been able to have our youth. By the way, she's doing much, much better, Janet.
Some of you have already seen her. I haven't, but
Right.
yeah,
So
she's home.
doing
She's up back on island, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So would you like to
Here
bless the?
Yeah. So we're going to just send a blessing out to all the children anyway. All right.
I see a
Surely.
couple.
So what I
actually.
know right here and right now is children everywhere. One beautiful one right back there, and all those in the world that they are blessed, they are nurtured, they are supplied, they are loved, and that love is infused in their very being. And I know their lives are unfolding perfectly no matter where they are and who they are and what is surrounding them. But that back of it all is that spirit, that force of all life that pushes life forward at all times. So I bless it, and I know peace, and I just let it be so, as we can affirm together. And so it is. So if something's come up for you today, we're going to have, actually, we have a nice little group that can be up here for you. Deborah Vandate, can you raise your hand? One of our practitioners, Reverend Diane, will be up here, and also Rob Jones will be up here.
Right.
So if you need a treatment or some voodoo magic, just yeah, they can all serve you in that way. So yeah, and there's also a box in the foyer there that you can, if you feel more that you just like to write it down. If there's something in your life that you'd like to know, just put it there, and we will pray on it. All right. So I think that's all we have to say, right?
No, let's all stand, close up, stretch our legs.
Thank you, and we're a little
thank
long
you so
today.
much. Yeah, we're a little bit. It's okay. It's all good. There's no time in the mind of God. That's for sure.
Please sing along.
Everybody sing along.
Love is all around me, below and above. I'm so grateful to love and be loved. It's ever flowing from within. Always right here to receive. To this love, I surrender in love all the way. Love is all around me, below and above. I'm so grateful to love and be loved. It's ever flowing from within, always right here to receive and be given. I surrender in love, wide open to this love. I surrender in love all the way.
And so in this surrendering, I just give gratitude with my eyes wide open for each and every one of us who have come here today on purpose, and those beautiful people that met us at the door. That's Katie and Harry. Give it up for Katie and Harry who make that entrance beautiful. Reverend Diane who jumped in and did some announcements because Michelle's over at Tasting Hawaii. And all I know is that I'm so blessful for this live streaming with Rob behind the camera again. Welcome home. And Ron Stover's back there giving us some refreshments and working on the camera. And beautiful Jonathan who works the sound. And Brandon Maria for this wonderful, wonderful music. And just everyone, all of these things that come together to make it happen. And for our wonderful trip that allowed us so much information to be able to share with you today. And for this beautiful co-spiritual director that I get to share so much time with, I say mahalo to you, Reverend Rita. and Reverend Patrick. Did I mention Reverend Patrick? And I say I'm grateful for myself too. All my twirls, I own it all. And I just say, let us own it all. Can you say, I own it? Say it again. I own it. There it is, and so it is.
Love is all around me, below and above. I'm so grateful to love and be loved. It's ever flowing from within, always right here to receive and be given. I surrender in love, wide open to this love. I surrender in love all the way.
Do you have the kids? Yeah, I have to.